30 forgotten items from 1980 that are in every home. The 1980s ushered in a whole new era. MTV reigned supreme, pop music exploded, and fashion was colorful and daring. Inside homes, shag carpets and avocado-colored kitchens gradually gave way to sleek electronics and vibrant decor. Every home bore the distinctive mark of the era, from colors to furniture. Let's look back and discover what became iconic in every home of this decade. Glass blocks. Glass blocks began to reign supreme strongly in the 80s. At first glance, they seemed modern and groundbreaking, but few knew that they weren't a product of this decade. In fact, glass blocks had existed for hundreds of years, but it wasn't until the 80s that they truly came alive and became a craze in interior design. People started using them creatively to create false walls, cleverly dividing space while still ensuring natural light could pass through. You can easily spot this trend in popular films of the time. A typical example is Kirstie Alley and John Travolta's house in the 1989 film Look Who's Talking, where glass blocks appeared as an indispensable part of the interior architecture. We can clearly see how glass blocks created a space that was both private and open, softly reflecting light, bringing a feeling of luxury and timeliness. This home decoration trend did not stop in the 80s but continued to influence, maintaining its presence in many houses built in the 90s. Memphis Design. You've certainly encountered the vibrant, colorful images with bold geometric patterns of the Memphis Design style. Perhaps many mistakenly believe it came from Memphis, Tennessee, USA, but in reality, its origin lies in Italy. The unexpected inspiration for this style came from Bob Dylan's 1966 album Blonde on Blonde, particularly from the song Stuck Inside of Mobile with the Memphis Blues Again. From there, a group of Italian designers transformed it into an impressive visual trend. Memphis designs stand out with a daring combination of bright colors like pink, turquoise, lime green, along with abstract, asymmetrical geometric shapes. They create a strong contrast, bringing a feeling of joy, energy, and a touch of rebellion. This style also permeated everyday objects from dishes and ceramics to patterns on clothes. You can easily recognize this style and see it spill into the 90s, especially in popular films and TV shows of the time like Saved by the Bell. Clear furniture. Let's recall another unique trend that made a strong mark in the 80s. Clear furniture. Tables, chairs, and shelves made from transparent materials like lucite became incredibly popular throughout this decade. Lucite, a high-quality acrylic plastic, offered a light, modern aesthetic and excellent adaptability to various spaces. You could find these clear furniture pieces everywhere, from luxurious private homes and modern offices to stylish fashion stores and countless other public spaces. This trend wasn't entirely new. It was originally part of the vibrant Art Deco movement in the early 20th century. However, in the 80s, clear furniture reappeared and was embraced more warmly than ever, bringing a fresh and unique breath into living spaces. Their outstanding advantage was their ability to create a sense of more spacious and airy surroundings, because they almost disappeared from sight, causing no visual obstruction. And there's an interesting detail our source humorously points out. If you owned a clear table, kicking someone's leg under the table would become an impossible task, as no one could hide their actions. Honey oak cabinets. If you owned a house built in the 80s, or simply visited friends' or neighbors' homes during that period, you surely encountered an icon of the era: honey oak kitchen cabinets. The warm, slightly yellowish-brown color of this oak wood became so popular that it almost dominated every kitchen. If not in your own home, you definitely saw them in someone else's house, or in films and TV shows re-aired from that decade. These honey oak cabinets were overused throughout the decade to the point that just mentioning their name would immediately conjure images of faded acid-wash jeans and tons of hairspray. Floral bedding and curtains. Stepping into any bedroom in the 80s, you would easily spot an undeniable trend: floral bedding and curtains. Floral designs became super large and super popular in this decade. A variety of patterns and styles flooded the market, offering countless options for every family. However, one name truly dominated and shaped this style. It was the Frilly Girly collection by Laura Ashley. Small, delicate floral patterns and soft colors on ruffled, lace-embroidered fabrics created a romantic, sweet, and incredibly feminine bedroom space. You've certainly encountered a room decorated in this style at some point in your life, even if you didn't own them. Their popularity is clearly shown through media. Remember the scene of Kim Basinger sitting on floral patterned bedding in the 1988 film My Stepmother is an Alien? It created a living space full of romance, softness, and femininity, an unmistakable characteristic of this period, right? Did your house also once own these items? Leave a comment below and share your memories. Metal wall sculptures. In the 80s, it seemed every home, whether new or old, had at least one metal wall sculpture. These two-dimensional artworks often depicted plants, flowers, or birds in flight, bringing a light, ethereal feeling to the space. Their size was often quite large, creating an impressive focal point on the wall, and making decoration easier than ever. You just needed to choose an empty spot, hang the artwork, and the wall had a new, highlighted look. However, behind that artistic beauty and decorating convenience, there was a harsh truth that 80s homemakers all understood. These metal sculptures simply meant you had to dust more. Every crevice, every curve, every tiny detail of the artwork was an ideal place for dust to accumulate, requiring certain meticulousness and patience in cleaning. Therefore, whenever we see a similar metal sculpture, we remember the challenging house cleaning sessions of a bygone era. Novelty phones. Before the era of smartphones exploded and turned phones into a versatile universe in our pockets, the lives of young people in the 80s were tied to a completely different type of phone. Unique, super cool novelty phones. Back then, there were no apps for gaming, no social media to scroll through, but instead, you had an extremely long phone cord that could be wrapped around your finger or even used to jump rope while chatting animatedly with friends. That was a very unique characteristic, a small habit almost every teenager had. You might own a funny Garfield phone, a cute Snoopy one, or one of hundreds of other unique phone models available on the market. If you didn't own one, you certainly dreamed of having it, and spent hours flipping through colorful Christmas catalogs from Sears, JCPenney, or Montgomery Ward to admire and choose. But privacy and screen time were real concerns. You had to constantly hope that no one else in the house needed the phone, or worse, that no one was listening in on your conversations from another phone in the house. Extravagant drapes. A truly impressive highlight in every living space to express one's personality. Giant drapes that hung from the ceiling to the floor. Not only were the drapes huge, but the elaborate tiebacks and decorative valances running above them were also designed to be incredibly luxurious and magnificent. They were primarily placed there to create a distinct style, a striking focal point. While the exact purpose of their creation was perhaps unclear to anyone, they conveyed a very regal feeling, as if inspired by grand palaces. However, that magnificent beauty came with a significant drawback. You wouldn't get any help when it was time to wash them. These heavy, cumbersome drapes required considerable effort to take down, clean, and rehang. Nevertheless, they remained an indispensable part of many homes, where everything was larger and more prominent than ever. Heart-shaped tubs. You may have never owned a heart-shaped tub, but you've certainly seen or at least heard of them. The heart-shaped tub became extremely popular in the 80s, widely appearing in many homes, hotels, and luxury resorts of that time. Owning such a tub was considered a symbol of luxury and romance. They were a space for relaxation and enjoying life, often designed with dim lights and candles to enhance the romantic atmosphere. The origin of heart-shaped tubs actually predates this. The first heart-shaped tub appeared in 1968, when Morris Wilkins installed it in his Cove Haven Resort in Lakeville, Pennsylvania. However, it wasn't until the 80s that they truly boomed in popularity, becoming a symbol of high-end lifestyle and romantic love. Lots of plants. Did you notice that in the 80s, plants seemed to be everywhere in the house? This trend was actually a continuation and stronger development from the 70s, as well as previous decades. And by the 80s, growing and decorating with houseplants had become more popular than ever. Newly built homes were even specially designed with large patios, big windows, or other distinct areas, all just to accommodate this growing trend. Everyone seemed to want to turn their home into a personal jungle, where they could immerse themselves in nature right within their living space. From hanging potted plants, large ferns on tall stands, to pothos climbing walls or small cacti on windowsills, greenery was everywhere. This trend even spread to the point of influencing patterns on bedding, curtains, wallpaper, and many other decorative items. Among these familiar items, which one do you think is the most iconic of the 80s? Share your thoughts in the comments. Pastel wall colors in mauve. This unique color trend is said to have been inspired by the works of renowned artist Georgia O'Keeffe. It was the most popular choice for refreshing the walls of homes. Homeowners often chose soft hues like pale pink, light blue, seafoam green, or light purple. Entire rooms could be painted a single color to create unity, or divided into different color blocks, creating subtle and unique accents. If your home didn't have any pastel colors somewhere, you were probably behind the times. In particular, one color became incredibly popular at that time: mauve. This was a special shade, not quite pink and not quite purple, but a delicate blend of both. Mauve was so popular that it could rival the avocado-green of the 70s. It evoked the tones of arid deserts, traditional adobe homes, and the majestic beauty of sunsets over the high Sierra Mountains. Lace curtains. Another item you would see everywhere in the 80s, often accompanying those floor-to-ceiling drapes, was lace curtains. They were first introduced by Europeans around the early 20th century and later became popular in the US. These delicate, intricate curtains seemed to appear in every window of most homes at the time. Not only that, they also featured prominently in countless films and TV shows of that decade as an essential element to set the scene. The beauty of lace curtains lay in their softness, romance, and ability to allow soft light to filter through, creating a cozy and poetic space. This shows the endurance of a classic style, transcending time and continuing to be loved across generations. Although steeped in tradition, lace curtains found a firm place in the modern spaces of the 80s, proving that their delicate and charming beauty is timeless. They were decorated to bring a touch of nostalgia and grace to any room. Large entertainment centers. In the 80s, home entertainment centers started to become increasingly larger and more popular. And they really had to be huge, because where else would you put all your massive collections? They were the place for LPs, 8-track tapes, though some were a bit outdated, cassette tapes, beta tapes, VHS tapes, and your favorite Atari game consoles. Even if a few of them became less popular by the end of the decade, you still couldn't throw them away. These entertainment centers were where you stored and proudly displayed your latest collections. You could comfortably enjoy them with accompanying devices. If you owned a truly luxurious and elaborate entertainment center, it even featured glass doors to protect all the treasures inside from dust and damage. These doors often had a small magnetic latch to keep them securely closed. And interestingly, that very magnet seemed to have a strange attraction to fingerprints. Nevertheless, the entertainment center was the heart of the living room, where family and friends gathered to enjoy lively movie nights, listen to music, or play games. Brass items. This material was so popular it was compared to gremlins in the movie of the same name. If you got them wet, they would reproduce and appear everywhere. This refers to the abundance of brass in every corner of the house. From the metal wall sculptures we just mentioned, often made of brass, to door handles, cabinet pulls, lamps, decorative animal figurines, and candle holders, all were made from this material. The shimmering beauty of brass brought a sense of luxury, classicism, and warmth to the space. However, accompanying that beauty was a rather annoying requirement. These items had to be polished regularly with specialized brass cleaner, otherwise they would look terrible. dust and oxidation would dull their shine, making them look tarnished and less aesthetic. Moreover, many cabinet accessories were not solid brass but only plated, so they were easily damaged or the brass plating wore off after just a few years of use. Metal Venetian blinds. Venetian blinds are still commonly used today, but most are made of plastic. In the 80s, however, they were mainly made of metal. They were widely used in household items. This sounded fine until you had pets, dogs, cats, or small children in the house. When these metal slats were bent, they could never return to their original straight shape, making the blinds look terrible and unsightly. They became living evidence of children's mischief or pets' curiosity. Metal Venetian blinds were favored for their flexible light control and effective privacy. They created a neat, modern look for windows, distinct from the elaborate fabric drapes. However, their durability and resistance to impact were a major drawback. Repairing bent slats was almost impossible, forcing many families to live with wrinkled blinds or replace them. Vertical blinds. Besides metal Venetian blinds, another type of blind quite popular in the 80s was vertical blinds. They were often used for patio doors or large windows, extending from the ceiling to the floor. At first glance, they seemed like a better design solution than horizontal blinds, offering a modern and sleek feel. However, reality was quite different. One of the biggest problems with vertical blinds was their interaction with floor vents. When air blew from the vents, the slats would continuously flap back and forth. At that point, they provided almost no shading, and their clattering sound was quite noisy and annoying. Not only that, vertical blinds were also very prone to damage, especially the sliding and rotating mechanisms. The slats could detach from the track, or the rotation mechanism could get stuck. Therefore, they later fell out of favor and are rarely seen in homes today. Skirting for furniture. Another trend that immigrated from the 70s and became even more popular in the 80s was the use of skirting for furniture. This trend, seemingly limited to women's clothing, was seen in homes. For some reason, your beds, sofas, and even ottomans all had to be dressed in these skirts. These skirts were layers of fabric that hung down to the floor, covering the legs and frame of the furniture. They were likened to small monsters lying on the carpet, ready to eat toys or any other important item that fell underneath. This was truly accurate, as children often dropped things, and these skirts created a black hole where everything disappeared, making searching difficult. Sometimes even clear glass tables were equipped with skirted covers by the late 80s. Its popularity brought aesthetic beauty, but sometimes caused small, memorable inconveniences in daily life. Neon wall art. By the late 80s, neon lights seemed to jump straight from storefront signs into homes, creating small but impressive accents everywhere. Whether it was just a simple wall art piece in teenagers' rooms or young families' homes, its presence was undeniable. Neon lights played a major role in shaping the aesthetic of the 80s, bringing a modern, vibrant, and colorful feel. The brilliant glow from neon lights with shades like blue, pink, green, or bright yellow created a very unique, very disco atmosphere for living spaces. They were a way to express individuality and youthful rebellion. Neon lights could be shaped into letters, symbols, or abstract forms, providing a unique and eye-catching beauty. Hollywood vanity lighting. These light fixtures were characterized by multiple large spherical bulbs mounted along the mirror, creating strong and even illumination. Interestingly, at that time, no one bothered that each bulb had a high wattage of 60 or even 100 watts. Energy saving was not a top priority. These fixtures themselves often had honey oak frames or were covered with a shiny brass layer, harmonizing with other interior trends of the era. Everyone wanted to feel glamorous and beautiful when applying makeup in the 80s, and you can easily realize that with light as strong as stadium lights in the bathroom, some women had difficulty blending their makeup evenly to match their skin tone. Because under that glaring light, every imperfection became clear. Nevertheless, Hollywood vanity lighting still brought the feeling of being a movie star right in your own home. Wall-to-wall carpeting. Many old homes with beautiful hardwood floors were covered with shag carpets in the 70s, and if that hadn't happened, then by the 80s these carpets would certainly have been laid down. Wall-to-wall carpeting provided a cozy, soft feeling underfoot and offered good sound insulation. They transformed the entire room into a soft, unified surface. One of the most popular colors for carpeting at that time was teal. This color was extremely popular, and you can easily see it in the classic comedy film National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation in 1989. Despite some drawbacks like being difficult to clean and prone to collecting dust, wall-to-wall carpeting remained an indispensable element in 80s interior architecture, creating a colorful and comfortable living space, a unique characteristic rarely found in modern designs. Recipe boxes. Today, when we want to find a recipe, we just need to click on the internet with countless websites and apps ready to serve. But if you're old enough to remember the time before, you'll know things weren't always that simple. Many families used to own cookbooks, and Betty Crocker was probably one of the most popular ones. However, most people stored their most precious recipes, their family secrets, in small, intricately decorated wooden boxes. Typically, these were family recipes passed down through generations, carefully handwritten on small index cards. Every ink stain, every scrawled word told its own story, associated with cozy meals and family gatherings. Dome clocks. With the popularity of mobile phones, many families no longer even need a wall clock. The smartphone has become the primary time-telling device, always in our pocket or hand. But in the 80s, things were different. Every household had at least one clock to tell time. There were all kinds of wall clocks and table clocks used to decorate homes, from classic pendulum clocks to more modern designs. One of the most popular types of clocks you could find everywhere was the dome clock. These clocks were often golden, with small balls swinging back and forth at the bottom, creating a mesmerizing motion. You could spend hours just watching them, captivated by the rhythmic and repetitive movement of the small balls. These clocks looked truly luxurious and refined, and although you can still buy them today, they are no longer as popular and visually captivating as they were in their heyday. Slide projectors. Slide projectors were a common item in many 80s homes, although they were actually a legacy from previous decades. Nevertheless, they maintained their popularity in the 80s. Slide projectors became less popular in the 1990s, when personal computers and digital photo frames began to appear and replace them. I'm sure we all were coaxed into watching a slideshow of a friend's or family member's vacation. You almost had to endure it because afterward you would also retaliate by making them sit through your own slideshow. It was a familiar social ritual, a way to share memories and experiences. Even if you didn't own a slide projector at home, I bet you encountered them at school or work. I'm sure children today wouldn't understand why we had those things, but at the time they were actually quite fun and brought special joy. Colored toilet paper. Do you remember a time when toilet paper came in all sorts of different colors? This trend was really popular in the 70s and 80s, but you certainly won't see them today. Back then, toilet paper came in blue, green, yellow, pink, and some even had floral patterns. It was a perfect way to colorize your bathroom, or coordinate with the colors you already had in it. These colorful toilet paper rolls helped you decorate, express your personality and creativity in beautifying your bathroom space. Later, there was a reason they gradually disappeared from the market. The dyes used in colored toilet paper were not good for women. Therefore, manufacturers eventually stopped producing them. Nevertheless, for those who lived through the 80s, these brightly colored toilet paper rolls remain a part of memory, a small but unique detail about the lifestyle and consumer product choices of a bygone era. Knitted toilet roll covers. Another item we often saw in the bathrooms of many 80s homes was knitted toilet roll covers. These were typically small dolls wearing a knitted dress, and that dress would be used to cover a spare toilet roll. Why did we do that? honestly, I'm not entirely sure, other than perhaps just because we could. Certainly not because we wanted to hide the colorful toilet paper rolls of the time, because we were all very proud of them. Perhaps it was just a unique decorating trend, a way to add a bit of cuteness, whimsy, and handmade charm to the bathroom space. These knitted dolls brought a cozy, familiar, and slightly nostalgic feeling. Whatever their true purpose, knitted toilet roll covers remain a small but unforgettable detail, reminiscing about a time when creativity and quirky decorating ideas were encouraged in every corner of the house, even in the most private spaces like the bathroom. Cassette tape cabinets. Almost everyone living in this vibrant decade owned a large quantity of cassette tapes and VHS tapes. Both of these items took up a lot of space in the house, and to solve the problem of storing and displaying their growing collection, small storage cabinets for cassette tapes and VHS became an excellent solution. These cabinets were designed to neatly organize cassette tapes, making it easy to find your favorite song or movie you wanted to watch. They were a great way to show off your latest music or movies to friends and family. Whenever guests came over, you could proudly introduce new recordings, popular albums, or recently purchased movies. We can imagine children or adults engrossed in flipping through each tape, selecting music to listen to on their massive cassette player. Cassette tape cabinets evoke much nostalgia for the living spaces of any music or movie lover in the 80s, recalling a time when music was experienced through each magnetic tape. Nesting tables. Do you remember those small tables that could nest inside each other like Russian dolls? These nesting table sets were the perfect space-saving item for every 80s living room. They typically included one large table and one or two smaller tables, designed to easily slide underneath the larger table when not in use. This helped optimize space, especially in smaller apartments. When guests arrived or when you needed extra surface area for snacks, drinks, or books, you just pulled them out and boom, they were ready to serve. Not only adults, but children also loved these tables. They could pull out the smaller tables on Saturday mornings watching cartoons, place their favorite sweet cereal bowl on them, and enjoy comfortably. Frosted glass animals. These small artworks could be anything from graceful hummingbirds, mischievous cats, to countless other animal shapes. They were made from frosted glass, creating a soft, ethereal, and shimmering beauty when light shone on them. It seemed people could never get enough of these items. They were carefully displayed on shelves, coffee tables, or in display cabinets, becoming the owner's pride. Display cabinets were used to showcase all the miniature items people had accumulated. People filled them with whatever they cared about, from souvenirs to gifts. Giving gifts also became easier. You just bought a small item for someone, and the next time you visited, you would see it displayed on this shelf. Decorative geese. Another decorating trend that truly flew into 80s homes and occupied every corner was decorative geese. Many people owned plates, cups, paintings, small statues, and countless other items featuring geese. What was special was that all these items seemed to have the same style: white geese, often decorated with ribbons and blue accents. The image of white geese with blue bows became a familiar symbol, bringing a feeling of country charm, peace, and a touch of cuteness to the living space. They could be found in kitchens, living rooms, bedrooms, and even bathrooms. The popularity of decorative geese shows a shift in decorating preferences, leaning towards simple, familiar, and symbolic images. Bulky coffee makers. People often prepared coffee makers the night before, pouring water and coffee into the filter so the next morning the machine could automatically brew a full pot of coffee ready to enjoy. If it was a truly expensive model, it even had a built-in radio. And when we say coffee, we're not just talking about a single cup, but a whole pot of coffee. This reflected the American coffee drinking habit of the time. Not just a quick cup, but a whole pot to sip throughout the morning. These bulky coffee makers were not just household appliances. They were part of the morning ritual, of the taste of traditional coffee, and of the peaceful, leisurely moments many still reminisce about from the 80s. If you enjoyed this journey of discovery, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Back to Yesterday, so you don't miss out on exciting stories about the past. Thanks for watching. See you in the next videos.